I got this letter from Monsignor Malone, who was our pastor for the longest time at Christ the King. He's now Bishop Malone down in Louisiana. But he wrote me this letter. It was very simple. He had been my pastor for about, 8 or 9 years at the time. And he just said very simply, John, I've watched you grown up. I've been close to you and to your family for all these years. And it kind of goes on and on about stuff like that. And then it says at the very end, I just want to ask you very simply, have you thought about being a priest? And I was reading this letter in my room, and I read it, and I was thinking back to all those times that the thought came into my head, you could be a priest. And I just said, yes, I've thought about it, and no, that is the last thing in the world that I want. So I kind of throw this letter next to my bed and just try to forget about it. And the funny thing about God and the way that he calls is that he is the most persistent ever. And so I went to school. I went to cross-country practice, which I hated, and started running. I couldn't get this letter out of my head and that question, have you ever thought about being a priest? I went to school, which I hated. No, I'm just kidding. I went to school and class, and I was just distracted with this thought of this letter. I went to soccer practice, to CYN. Everything that I tried to do in that week was just bombarded with the letter, the now infamous letter to me, and this question of, have you ever thought about being a priest? So I just couldn't take it anymore, as you can imagine. And after about 4 or 5 days, I walked back up into my room, picked up this letter, and just reread it. And that question, that burning question, came again. John, have you ever thought about being a priest? And as you can imagine, my natural answer started coming back. I want kids. I want a beautiful wife. I want a great job. I want money. And there are a few times in my life that I can point to and say, Jesus said something to me. And of course, it's not an audible voice or this booming thing from the skies or a text message or anything, but it's just speaking kind of to your heart. I don't know if you've experienced that. But it was clear as day. And he said these words to me. He said, John, I was oh, so formal. No. He said, John, those are good things. What you want, those things are good. But what do I want for you? As you can imagine, I was just floored. Because, of course, I've just been focused on my wants. And Jesus, in just one kind of sentence, just put me on my butt. And I had to acknowledge the fact that I have not once considered what God wants for me and why he wants it for me. So I said, fine, I'll give it a shot. I ended up going to seminary with a very firm plan. I made a deal with God, and never do this. Don't make a deal with God because he will win. I guarantee it. I said, I'll give you 2 years because I already knew what I wanted. I wanted to get out and go to college and have the normal life and be cool and all this stuff. I'll give you 2 years, and after I decide that you don't want me there, I get to leave. And so I entered with this understanding, I'm going to leave in 2 years. And 2 years came, and 2 years went. And in that time, I heard nothing from God. Absolutely nothing. I had this beautiful, very clear experience to get me there. And now he was completely silent, just didn't give me a whiff of a sign. And I'm where the heck are you? And at the end of that 2 years, Monsignor Friend sat me down, actually, and said, you can't get anything by a vocation director, by the way. They know exactly what you're trying to do. And he sat me down, and he just said, look, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. Just kind of like laid it out right in front of me. He said, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. But I can tell you that God wants something for you here. You're going to have to either be here, commit your heart, give yourself to this process, or just go. And you can go on your merry way. So he just kind of like laid it on the line for me and said, you're either all in or you're all out. And I just realized that although that I had submitted to finding out if God wants me to be a priest by coming to the seminary, I had never let go of my wants. I had never let go of what I think is best for myself, because I know better, way better, of course. And what Monsignor was inviting me to do was to just let go of some kind of control. Let go of that desire to be in control of my life and entrust it to the one who formed my heart. What Monsignor was asking me to do was to give my heart back to the one who had made mine.